What's up, everybody? Thursday, June 26th, 2025. I'm going live every day until I raise $5 million in Zip Capital. My name is Zach Pasquarello. I started a bookkeeping business 5 years ago, and then I learned about private money lending by accident 2.5 years ago, simply by doing the bookkeeping for real estate investors. I started asking questions. I started noticing, hey, who are these people? Why are these random people making so much money, interest income? They're not banks, they're not lending institutions. Who are they? Just simply started asking questions, learned by accident, right place, right time. That's kind of what happens as an entrepreneur. That's kind of what happens as a bookkeeper. You kind of just learn about business. You evolve, you grow. Here's a really great example. Maybe you start out as a bookkeeper. Let's back it up. Let's go back even further. Maybe back in high school, you really liked the math, or you were really organized, or you were really good at budgeting using Microsoft Excel. You took those skills and then you had an idea. You start a bookkeeping business. That's amazing. You start bookkeeping, really basic. You start categorizing transactions, reconciling accounts, and generate financial reports. Amazing opportunity to get started as an entrepreneur. And then maybe you learn about taxes, and then maybe you become a CPA, or maybe you learn about forecasting and budgeting. Maybe you become a CFO, a fractional CFO. And then all of a sudden, you go from bookkeeping to tax prep to fractional CFO services. And now you can offer high level financial consulting services. And so this all started with I really like math, or I'm really organized, or Microsoft Excel is cool for keeping track of my personal finances and budgeting. Now, all of a sudden, you've graduated to wow, I'm charging $20,000 a year, $50,000 a year for fractional CFO services, for financial consulting. And then it just goes on from there. And then things can just grow. And it's like, how did this even happen? I just liked math in high school. And now I'm making $500,000 offering high level advisory consulting services. And just like, you got to take the baby steps. And that is exactly what happened to me. And you all have been witnessing this firsthand. I've been sharing my journey. I am such a proponent of what I like to call radical transparency. I feel like a lot of people are gatekeepers and they want to hold back their secrets because they have a fear that if I tell other people what I'm doing, if I tell other people how I've done what I've done, then they're going to copy me, and then they're going to take all my clients, or they're going to take all my money, or I'm going to go out of business, or there's too much competition. I don't buy into that. I buy into radical transparency. I'm an advocate for helping others and teaching others and sharing what I have to know, because at the end of the day, you still have to work hard. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have execution and hard work, none of it's going to matter. So my goal is to teach you what I know, share my journey, be radically transparent, honest, open, truthful, with the hopes that I can teach you what I've learned, learn from my mistakes, fast track to success, start a bookkeeping business, move on to high level consulting services. Hey, who knows? Maybe you start private money lending. And that's what I did. I started private money lending 2.5 years ago when I learned about it by accident through bookkeeping for my real estate investor clients. I didn't even know when I was in high school studying calculus. I didn't even know what bookkeeping was. When I started my bookkeeping business, I didn't even know what private money lending was. When I started private money lending, I didn't even know what a Regulation D 506C real estate debt fund was. And then I just learned all of it. There's so much information out there with the internet, with AI, ChatGPT, networking, marketing, social media. You can connect with experts in the industry. You can watch YouTube videos. You can just learn so much. And I am living, breathing proof of that evolution from math to bookkeeping to private money lending to investment fund manager. So now I have close to $2 million. I have about $400,000 of other people's money. You can see back there on the wall, $358,000 of other people's money in Zip Capital. And then I have about $1 million of my own money. And then I have about $500,000 of random lines of credit, business loans, and other things like that. Some credit cards that I liquidated. So I've got close to $2 million that I'm lending out right now. My goal is 5 million. And I'm just going to keep talking about it until I get there. So let's talk a little bit about how I scaled from one loan 2.5 years ago to a lending business. So I started with my own capital. That's the best way to start. If you're starting a bookkeeping business, that's also the best way to start. Start by running your own books. Start by tracking your own personal finances. That's exactly what I did. Start by studying accounting. That's exactly what I did. And then you can get QuickBooks Online. And then you can track your personal finances through QuickBooks Online. Exactly what I did. And then I did the same thing with private money lending. Started with my own money, $50,000 2.5 years ago. And I just used my own savings. So to grow, let's talk about this real quick. You're not going to get rich by skipping Starbucks. That's a common thing that I hear entrepreneurs and gurus and experts and salesmen say. Like, you're not going to get rich skipping Starbucks, being frugal, penny pinching, but instead you're going to get rich by focusing on 10xing your revenue, which is a very common theme that I've heard people talk about. And that is great. That's good. I understand where they're coming from. But the thing is, when it comes to being frugal, you need a safety net to be able to take risk. And that comes with being frugal. We're not going to just wake up one day making $1 million. You're probably making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And you got to be frugal so that you can take risk. And that's what happened whenever I quit my full-time job back in 2021. Quit my full-time job, went all in on my bookkeeping business. I was able to do that because I had money saved up. I was able to take risk. And so in a way, being frugal, penny pinching did actually allow me to make $1 million, to save $1 million, not directly, but indirectly, to the point where I was able to take risk. And then the same thing with private money lending. I was frugal the first 2 years of my bookkeeping business, didn't spend it on a Rolex or a Lamborghini or fancy vacations. I probably could have, but instead I stayed frugal, didn't go to fancy restaurants, kept eating at groceries, kept going to grocery stores, kept my old car, didn't buy fancy nice clothes. I saved my money. And then I was able to lend $50,000, which isn't a ton of money, but it's a good chunk of money. I was able to lend $50,000. And then I just scaled up from there, continued to grow my bookkeeping business, continued to be frugal, continued to save my money, continued to learn more and do some more research and figure out how I could raise capital, and started with my own money. And now I have about $1 million over the last 5 years, all because of my hard work, growing my bookkeeping business, and being frugal. And then this also allows you to learn. So start with your own stuff, start with your own personal finances, start with your own money. That way you can learn and take risks, make mistakes, and get experience. So getting experience, by definition, basically is making mistakes, learning from your mistakes, and then not making the same mistake twice. That's pretty much all like getting experience really is just making mistakes and learning from your mistakes. And then you can reinvest your profits, monthly compounding interest. So you can do a private money loan with $25,000, $10,000, $50,000, and then whatever extra income you get from that should all just be gravy on top, should all just be icing on the cake, so to speak. So you can just reinvest your profits. So if you start with $50,000 and you profit $500 a month, then after 6 months, when you do your next loan, maybe instead of doing $50,000, maybe this time you do a $55,000 loan. And then the next time you do a $65,000 loan. And then the next time you do an $80,000 loan. And then before you know it, every 6 months, you reinvest your profits and you just continue to grow from there. And then as you get experience, then you can start making the connections. You can start sharing your results and you can start talking about what you've been doing. Same thing with growing a bookkeeping business. You get your first client and then you build a good relationship with that first client, start talking about how you're helping that client organize their financials. And then they share with their friends that you're doing a good job. The real estate investors share with their friends that I'm a good lender. I'm easy to work with. And you just naturally attract attention. And you naturally build trust and you build a good reputation. This takes time. You're not going to get rich overnight. You're not going to start a bookkeeping business overnight. You're not going to start private money lending overnight. This all takes time. It takes patience. It takes consistency and perseverance. Persevering through the first 6 months. That's the hardest part. If you're just now watching this, maybe you've already started your business, maybe you're growing it, And now you just now got to a point where you can comfortably quit your full-time job and you can comfortably afford to pay all your bills. Now you have to persevere through the volatility of growing your business. There's going to be times where you want to give up. There's going to be times where you don't think you're going to make it, but you have to persevere. You cannot give up. You have to continue working hard. You have to continue saving your money so that you can get to a point where you can do your first private money loan or invest in something else or start a new business or grow your current business. Maybe you want to hire some employees. Maybe you're going all in on the bookkeeping, the tax prep business. Maybe you're going to hire some employees and get an office and maybe invest in some advertising and marketing. Whatever it is for you, you got to be persistent. You got to persevere through the challenging times, and there absolutely will be. Don't ever let anybody tell you that starting a business or really doing anything for that matter is ever going to be easy. There's always going to be challenges. It's always going to be hard. I face challenges today. Even now that I have successfully grown my bookkeeping business, I have a good reputation, solid client base. Things are still hard today. Things are never going to get easy. You're always going to have to work hard. So then, after I started lending my own money, I started helping other people do loans. And this was really where everything changed. And I'm going to share tomorrow, sneak peek, how I made $48,000, literally $48,000 in April, just doing lending. I was lending my own money and I was lending other people's money and I was connecting the dots. So I was connecting borrowers and lenders together. So I ran out of capital, but I had a lot of deal flow. I still have a lot of deal flow because of my marketing and my networking. So I had a lot of people asking me for loans, but I didn't have enough money to fund them. So I connected with other local private money lenders, and they were paying me a loan consulting fee or a percentage of the loan or an origination fee, basically as like advertising and marketing for them. So I was getting 1%, 2%, sometimes 3% on these loans, and I wasn't even using my own money. So I literally made $48,000 in April of 2025, just loan consulting and private money lending. So I'm going to share all the details tomorrow. So definitely stay tuned if you want to watch and learn how I made more than $40,000 just lending. Watch tomorrow. I'm going to go into all those details. So I started lending with other people's money probably the end of 2024. Really started doing that then. And then 3 or 4 months later, I launched Zip Capital. So I just got to the point where I had so many deals. I had confidence in my processes. I had good enough experience. I had probably done 10 or 15 loans at that point where I felt confident enough that I could do this with other people's money. Certainly took a risk. Entrepreneurs tend to take outsized risk, and therefore they tend to make outsized returns. So I'm not up here necessarily saying that everything that I'm doing is going to work out perfectly. I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes. I'm sure I'm going to have some bad loans in the future, but I'm doing everything that I can to mitigate risk, to underwrite these borrowers, to learn from my mistakes, do research, network with other professionals, attorneys, title agents, realtors, other real estate investors, insurance agents. I'm trying to grow my network and grow my team to the point where I can mitigate my risk. So what would I do differently if I started today? So that's kind of the whole point. I'm trying to share my experience so that hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. So I did start a bookkeeping business 5 years ago and grew to the point where now I've got $1 million of my own money lent out. What would I do differently? I would build a solid system from day one. I would document my process. And this probably applies to just about anything that you do, whether you're starting a different business or whether you're starting private money lending. But I would probably document my processes and create underwriting templates and track my deal metrics. So in the very beginning, I did 1 or 2 loans at a time. So it wasn't a whole lot to track. But as things grew, I basically just had an Excel spreadsheet. And so I would just track all the details of the loan. Like I would track the date that the loan started, the date that the loan closed, the due date if the loan was still outstanding, the amount of the loan, the borrower, the interest rate. Now, because I was lending with other people's money, I would also maybe throw in the lender, like who is the actual lender on this property. And Let's see, what else would I do? I would do the after rehab value of the property. Construction draws are a big thing. You got to track because sometimes, like for example, tomorrow I'm doing a loan for $107,000, and I'm only lending $57,000 for purchase, and then I'm holding $50,000 for the construction draw. So I need to keep track of that $50,000. And in the beginning, I just didn't have a great process for keeping track of that $50,000 construction draw. And so as you grow, you want to quickly and early develop systems for tracking your metrics and documenting your processes. What, for example, if you're private money lending, like what documents are you going to collect to underwrite the borrower? If you're quoting a bookkeeping client, what documents are you going to collect to give them a quote? If you're onboarding a new bookkeeping client, what does that process look like? We got to get you started with a QuickBooks account, or invite me to your QuickBooks account. Make sure your bank accounts are connected to the bank feed. Do I get view only access to your bank accounts? Send me your last 3 months of bank statements and credit card statements. Here's your balance sheet. Let's review all of your balance sheet accounts before we get started to make sure everything looks accurate. Set them up for recurring billing. So in your own QuickBooks account, you got to create an invoice for the customer. You got to add them to your client tracker, add them to your invoice workflow, add them if you're doing ACH origination on your bank account, add them to process their payment monthly. There's a lot to keep up with. So document those processes early, create standards and procedures, create templates and SOPs early. Do that early because it's going to save you so much headache as you grow. Because when you get, if you wait until the point where it becomes an emergency, that's what I did with my lending. So I waited until I had like 5 or 10 loans already done. And then I was like, shoot, I want to track all these metrics for these loans. Same thing with your clients. Like if you already have 10 clients, it's like, wait a minute, I want to track, when did I get these clients? How much are they paying me? When did I increase their monthly price? All those things. Maybe when did I lose the client? So you can track your monthly churn or your annual churn with your bookkeeping clients. It's better to start tracking the information early. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and recalculate and re-engineer like all of the data for your 10 clients, when it would have been a lot easier just to start on day one. And then also I would have said no more often. And this applies to literally any business, not just private money lending. I would have said no more often. Specifically to bookkeeping clients, absolutely. Bookkeeping clients who seemed like they were going to be a red flag. It seemed like they were going to be a pain in the butt to work with. But then also real estate investment loans. As a private money lender, I would have been more picky and choosy because you only have so much money. You only have so much time as a bookkeeper. You only have so much time. You only have so many of your resources. So in the beginning, it's hard because you don't have too many options. So the first person that calls you looking for bookkeeping, oh my goodness, I just got my first client, bend over backwards, do it for free. I'll pay you, just let me do your bookkeeping. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but you get the feeling. Whenever you got that first client, you would have done anything. There's no way you would have said no. The same thing with my real estate loans. I had no experience. I would have probably said yeah. Like anybody who I trusted and knew personally, if they asked me for a loan, I would have been happy to work with them because I didn't have deal flow. I didn't have new borrowers, new clients calling me and emailing me and asking me for things. So I would have said no more often. I would have passed on a few deals that just seemed okay. Because what always ends up happening is you agree to work for a client, you agree to lend on a real estate loan, and then a couple of weeks go by and all of a sudden you get a new client or you get a brand new deal that is 10 times better and you just wish you would have been patient. It's so hard in the moment. Hindsight is 2020, but if you made the same mistakes I did with your bookkeeping business, hopefully the next time you get started with something new, or hopefully as you grow your bookkeeping business, you can learn from your mistakes. If you haven't made those mistakes yet, amazing. Learn from my mistakes. And I'd actually be curious, drop a comment in the chat. Let me know if you have made that mistake. Let me know if you have onboarded a client too low. Maybe you've quoted too low. Maybe you just onboarded a client, a bookkeeping client, or maybe you did a private money loan with a client who It just has a bunch of red flags, things that you thought were wrong and bad in the beginning, but didn't care because you were just excited. Let me know in the comments or let me know in the chat if that ever happened to you. So I would say no more often and just be okay with passing on some of the deals. Okay. I was going to say something else, but I forget what I was going to say. Say no more often. I can't remember what I was going to say. That's okay. Oh, now I remember. Something else that I would have done. Have a digital system for onboarding clients, right? It seems so obvious now. I have an online real estate loan request form. If I were trying to get new bookkeeping clients, I would have an online client intake form, a new bookkeeping client questionnaire. Just ask 5, 6, 7, 8 questions just to get a feel for the client. It's so super simple, and even if you're not taking on new clients, or even if somebody is not going to hire you right away, the really cool thing is you're basically starting a leads list. You're starting an email list. You're getting their contact information. So ask for simple things: first name, last name, phone number, email address, what's the business name, what services are you looking for, who was your previous bookkeeper, things like that. For my real estate loan, I'll admit I'm not doing things the right way right now. I'll admit it. I'm not doing things the right way. I don't have a website for Zip Capital. I thought about buying a website. I just haven't done it yet. I've just been piggybacking off of harrisburgbookkeeping.com. So I do have a tab, harrisburgbookkeeping.com/ real estate loan request form. And so anytime somebody asks me for a loan, I just send that to them and then they fill out the questionnaire. So you could do the same thing. If you're trying to start private money lending, just copy my website. Go to my website, harrisburgbookkeeping.com, see what I have on my website, and then you can just use that information. I ask very standard questions, and it's nice because you can attach it to a Google Sheet. And so now you have a leads list. So whether it's a bookkeeping new client questionnaire or a real estate loan request, you're basically creating a leads sheet. Another thing that's really cool, doing real estate loans. I'm getting all of these LLCs and these business owners and these real estate investors, I'm getting their contact information. So if I ever wanted to try to get them as bookkeeping clients, boom, I've got 50 leads who I could potentially get them as bookkeeping clients. Honestly, if you're doing this marketing, you could seriously just start a brand new business right now. Let me give you some good advice potentially. You could literally go to my website right now, copy my questionnaire, start asking people if they want a real estate loan, connect with a local private money lender, and then just give them all the leads, and then come up with an agreement that the local private money lender will pay you. So you could like start an online marketing company. And in addition to offering real estate loans, you could get their information and then you could try to sell them your bookkeeping services. I've never thought about that, but that would actually work really well. That's just kind of randomly came to my mind, but I really think you could pull that off and it wouldn't be too confusing. Just something to think about. Maybe it wouldn't work. I don't know. Okay, let's look at the comments. Let's look at the chat. Let's see if anybody is watching. Let's see if anybody asked any questions. Okay, Steele, are there other private lenders in your industry that you compete with? How does the competition landscape look for private money lenders? There are a few that I compete with, I'll be honest. But the supply and demand curve is so out of whack that there's just so much more demand than I have supply. I mean, I'm basically operating like a bank. And if you drive down Main Street in your hometown, you're going to see 20 different banks all right next to each other. So people are always going to need money. The other really cool thing, AI is never going to take this business. I'm selling money. AI can never take over the AI can help underwrite and process loans, but AI is never going to replace me. That's pretty cool. So I have a ton of security and a ton of job security and confidence in the future because AI, like, I have money and I'm selling my money. AI can never take that from me, which is kind of cool. Okay, sorry, I just got sidetracked for 2 seconds. Is there competition? Yeah. So there is competition, but I have so it really all comes down. It's exactly like a bookkeeping business. It just all comes down to marketing and networking. That's really all it comes down to. Like, I'm sure there are 5 to 10 different accounting firms in your city right now still, and they're probably all decent accounting firms. You're just gonna get clients by marketing and networking, no matter what industry you're in. If people know who you are, if people trust you, they're gonna work with you. It doesn't matter who the competition is. If people know you and trust you, you could price your services more expensive and they'll still work with you over somebody else. So I never worry about competition. I always I worry about 2 things: consistently doing marketing and sales every day, and then number 2, deliver high quality customer service. If you do those 2 things, forget about your competition. They are irrelevant. They don't matter. I promise you. Erica, I would love to lend money. I'm trying just to get the money to save. I'm working on building my bookkeeping business like you first. That's what it's all about. I'm going to be making YouTube videos for a very long time. So just continue following my journey. And then if you're 6 months behind, if you're 6 weeks behind me, if you're 6 years behind me, it doesn't matter. If you're just getting started, it doesn't matter. Just keep following my journey. I'm just going to keep talking about what I'm doing. And then hopefully you can just continue following in my footsteps. Okay, 100% true. I have an accounting degree with no experience. Is it possible to become a bookkeeper? Absolutely. It is absolutely possible. Check out my 100 other videos. I teach you everything you need to know about starting a bookkeeping business. I even have a course for sale. Buy it if you want. Don't buy it if you don't want. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, check out all my other videos. I have definitely made mistakes. I went 1.5 years with no clients, tons of mistakes, but we're trying new things. That's awesome, Steele. The key is never give up. That's all you have to do. Business is an infinite game. There are no winners, there are no losers. Just never give up. Just continue working. I will say, though, a lot of what you learn in college is tailored for corporate level accounting. Bookkeeping is more for small business accounting, similarities, but vastly different. Great point. So I took 8 college level accounting classes. The only class that was actually relevant to what I do now was Intro to Accounting. Debits, credits, financial reports, balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statement, income, expenses, equity, assets, liabilities. That's the only thing that's really relevant. Everything after that, completely irrelevant. But I will say it gave me confidence. The fact that I took 8 college level accounting classes helped me overcome imposter syndrome. So the actual knowledge, useless, but the confidence that I got, priceless, if that makes sense. That's probably not a great tagline for colleges, but I think it's true. They probably would not be very proud of that, but I think it's true. Knowledge gained, useless, confidence got, priceless. Okay. Let's see. You're going to learn bookkeeping by doing bookkeeping. You already have the accounting knowledge. You can do bookkeeping quizzes online if you doubt your knowledge. Yep, that's a great idea. Yeah, you're gonna learn how to do bookkeeping in QuickBooks by doing bookkeeping in QuickBooks. Yep. All right, let's see. A couple more questions. We got 1 more minute. I get overwhelmed with setting up an easy workflow and document system. Where can I start? Or is there a checklist you have? I actually think QuickBooks has. I think if you're a QuickBooks Online accountant, I think they have resources for you. I don't. Maybe search my videos. I probably have a workflow video somewhere. I'm sure there's something there. Okay. Let's see. How to get clients. True, no lie. If you're targeting US clients, it'll be harder to gain that trust. What if I specialize with accounting firms? So, how do you get clients? So, this is true for all industries. This is true for me raising capital right now. This is true for me starting my bookkeeping business. How do you get clients? 2 things: get your name out there and build trust. You achieve both things simultaneously by being consistent and persevering for a long period of time. Get your name out there, social media, blog, website, Google My Business profile, in-person networking events, cold calling, sending emails, creating videos, tutorials. It doesn't matter. You just got to buy a billboard, buy a advertisement in your local newspaper. Don't actually do that, but just as an example, there are so many different ways that you can get your name out there. It's the exact same concept for raising capital in my investment fund, finding borrowers for my private money lending, and getting bookkeeping clients. Get your name out there. You can never stop, because there are 100 other, just like Steele mentioned with competition. If you stop marketing, there are 100 other people in your city right now who are marketing for the exact same services. You can never stop. So you have to continue marketing. Even if you get 10 or 15 clients and you think you're good, you've made it, you've got $8,000 of monthly recurring revenue, don't stop. Continue marketing, because you're going to lose clients. And then build trust. You build trust by being honest, having integrity, delivering high quality customer service. Do what you say you're going to do. Under promise, over deliver. Be a good person. Be nice. Be positive. Be polite. Be professional. Build trust. Be consistent. Tell people what you do and who you are, and build trust. And you do that by showing up every day. Look at me, for example. Check out all the links in the description. Like, follow all my social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. Follow me on social media. I post every day. I show up. I show my face. I talk in front of the camera. I'm transparent. I'm honest. I'm open. I'm professional. I'm positive. You just got to show up every day, tell people who you are, and build trust. That's it for today, everybody. If you want to sign up to invest in Zip Capital, check out the link in the description of the video, zipcapital.investnext.com. You can register. Let's chat. Let's talk about investing in Zip Capital, or you can not and just learn about private money lending. Totally up to you. It's up to you. But either way, I'm here to teach you about private money lending. I'm here to help you. Couple bookkeeping questions, private money lending, Zip Capital, whatever it is. I'm excited to be here. I'm going live every day at 11 a.m. So tune in tomorrow. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope